Welcome to another episode of Game Changers for Government Contractors. I am your host, Michael Lejeune. If you are not familiar with me or the podcast, I'll give you the quick intro. We are going into our 10th year of doing this podcast, almost 400 episodes. It's all about government contracting. We interview experts, and I do episodes like this every once in a while where it's just me and talking about fundamentals and things like that. Our business is RSM Federal. We focus on helping government contractors master the art and science of government sales. So if you are struggling with sales and government contracting, please reach out to us. You can go to rsmfederal.com or federalaccess.com. Now, let's dive in and talk about this episode today. So I want to talk about something that I don't think people talk about ever, and that is the boring stuff that actually grows your GovCon business. So business is a fun game if you play it right. And the things that you need to master are not hard. They are the fundamentals. If you look at any sports team, any type of organization out there, whenever they are struggling, they always go back to the fundamentals. So like football, for example, if you can't catch, run, pass, block, tackle, you're not going to be a good team. You've got to master those fundamentals. And I think too often you've got quarterbacks with all kinds of different plays on their arm. There's 75 different plays for offense and 80 plays for defense and different things like that. And it's so complicated and they can't execute it. So what do? They strip all that down and they go back to the basic fundamentals. And that's what winning in government contracting looks like. You've got to get away from a lot of the flashy stuff and focus on those fundamentals. So today, that's what I'm going to be talking about, the ones you need to focus on. And the ones towards the end may not be too obvious for you. So you're going to want to hang around and listen for those. So just remember, success is not built on one big win in this business. It's built over time, and you need consistent execution. So there's a lot of flashy things that are cool and fun, but they're just that. They're flashy. It's the fundamentals. I cannot drill that home enough. It's the boring, repeatable stuff that you have to get right. And once you get that right, then you can get to that next level. So let's talk about a couple of things on the business development side, on the daily, weekly side of things. You need to be reviewing your pipeline on a daily, weekly basis. Daily, just to scrub the pipeline and look through what you have going on, what's coming up next, getting rid of dead weight, reprioritizing opportunities and things like that, making sure you're checking up on them. You need to be doing that on a daily, weekly basis. Not waiting for 3 months, 6 months, something like that. You need to be checking sam.gov and other portals with opportunities on a daily basis. Now, the key is not for an hour, 2, 6, 8, 10 hours, probably about 20 minutes. That's all you need to spend on SAM, because most of your time in prospecting needs to be on pre-acquisition, not acquisition. So sources sought, RFIs, talking to contracting officers, teaming partners. That's where you need to spend most of your time, not 8 hours a day on sam.gov or some bid matching system. It is important to do a daily review, but it's not important to sit in it all day and get distracted. That just makes you feel like you're doing something when you're not actually doing anything by doing that. The other thing is the targeted outreach. Every day you should have a touch, not once a week. A lot of times people say, well, I'll make sure once a week I do some outreach to contracting officers or primes or teaming partners or something along those lines. You need to be doing something every single day. You're sending an email, making a couple of phone calls every day so that those things stack up. If you're just doing it once a week, that's only 4 times a month. I need you doing it 20 times a month at a minimum. So targeted outreach is really important on a daily, weekly basis. The next thing is your proposal infrastructure, making sure that you have templates for your past performance and libraries of these documents, because these are the things that you're going to need at a moment's notice. You don't need to be scrambling at proposal time to create this stuff. You need a proposal infrastructure that has templates, it has libraries, it has documents, it has a shared drive if you work with a bigger team. You need to do that, and you need to keep it up to date. I was working with a client this morning, and I went through their past performance Excel spreadsheet, which it's fine if you want to use an Excel spreadsheet, a Google Doc, whatever it is. But in hers, I was saying, look, you've got like 4 points of data in here. You've got like the contract name, who the customer was, the revenue, and I think there was one other field. I'm like, why don't you have the services you provided? Let's also get into looking at what value you had and the metrics and this and this and this and this, all the things that should be in there. So at a moment's notice, you can filter that stuff and get exactly what you need for your proposal process. So that's a really important one. The next one is pricing. You need to be working on pricing on a regular basis. Prices shift all the time. Right now, with what's going on in the government, as of summer 2025, there's a lot of tariff issues, there's pricing issues, we still have inflation issues. Those things fluctuate drastically on a daily, weekly basis. So honing in on your pricing and making sure you're working on it on a regular basis is a must, not just waiting until you do a proposal or like some people do, only looking at it once or twice a year. You need to be looking at that to make sure you're tracking for inflation and different things that are going on, benefit changes, all that kind of stuff. Another piece of the proposal process is to make sure you have your color team reviews down. So you know what you're doing when. At a minimum, you're doing a red team review at the end. That's something that needs to be done, but have your process lined out. And I would add that as one of the items here. You need to have a solid process for proposals that you have hammered out and you're continually tweaking as you go. You don't want to just approach proposals with no process. You need something lined out with checks and balances in it. The next item on my list is your back office and compliance. I can't tell you how often I have talked to a client who lost a contract because they let their SAM registration lapse and somebody challenged them and it was taken away. It's simple things like that. Your SAM registrations should never lapse. Your certifications should never lapse. You need to set reminders. You need to be reviewing these things quarterly, not just annually, because you're going to miss something. Another one for the back office is one that's really, really important to government contractors is accurate timekeeping and invoicing. So if you're in a position where you need to be DCAA compliant, you need to have the right systems and processes in place for that. Those are a big deal. You don't want to be caught in an audit and not have that stuff in place. And the last thing on the back office side that I'll talk about is documenting literally everything. You need to document your policies and procedures for everything in the business. This will not only push you towards the ISO 9000 fill in the blank, requirements that are out there, but it will get you to a point where you can hand off the business or a role in the business to someone else. And that's what you need to focus on. You need to be that rock solid in your processes and your systems. The next item on here is marketing and positioning. The first one on here is your capability statement upkeep. I can't tell you how often, again, and I should probably just say that for the rest of the episode. Most of these things are just lessons learned that I've seen time and time again from clients that we're onboarding. And a big one is their capability statement and other marketing materials that are just way out of date. Just onboarded a new client today, and I was like, this doesn't look like it's been updated and before I got it out of my mouth, she said, yeah, it's probably been 2 or 3 years. You need to be refreshing your capability statement probably every 90 days. At a minimum, reviewing it and making sure that there isn't things that are old that need taken off, new things that need added, or maybe it's just a facelift on the colors and the layout and things like that, and making sure you're still familiar with it. You need to be able to know everything that's on that, like the back of your hand. Another one is LinkedIn. If you're not using LinkedIn, I highly recommend at a minimum, you're posting something 1 or 2 times a week, engaging other people on almost a daily basis, engaging with COs, engaging with teaming partners. LinkedIn is one of the best platforms to generate leads and build relationships for government contractors. And if you don't know how to use it, reach out to me and I can coach you on that. Website relevance is another one. How often do you look at your website and think, man, this thing is out of date, way out of date? I saw somebody the other day that their copyright on the website was 2013. Like, it's 2025. And then I go into their news and about section and their blog section, and they haven't posted a blog or anything in their news since like 2018. What does that tell the world? It tells them that you may not even be in business anymore. The same thing with testimonials and things like that. What if the testimonials on your website are for a product or service you don't even have anymore? You need to clean that stuff up. What if you don't have current contract vehicles on it? All those kind of things need to be updated on your marketing materials and your website all the time. The next item is relationship nurturing. I've already talked a little bit about that, but people need to follow up more with current and past clients, not just new prospects. There's a study that was done by, I believe it was like Harvard, where they did this research over decades. And this number still holds true today, where it's a Past client is 67% more likely to buy from you than a new client. So what does that tell you? If you're working with somebody or you have worked with somebody, if you go back to them, there's almost a 70% chance that you'll get some more business with them. But you have to build the relationship. You have to keep talking to them. You need to be reaching out every 3, 6, 12 months at minimums to talk to them about what you're doing. Update them on new products and services. Update them on new staff. Talk to them about what's going on in their business. That's a simple thing you can do to nurture those relationships. So you should probably be reaching out to a current or past client at a minimum once or twice a month. If you have more clients like that, then I would do it once a week at a minimum. And don't just think government, think commercial too. So on both sides of that, you need to be reaching out, because if you're not reaching out to them, they're no longer your customer. They're somebody else's. So stay in touch with them by using your CRM, by using your calendar, whatever works for you. You just need to have a system to continually follow up with them. And the last thing on the relationship nurturing is making sure you have some sort of BD/sales huddle with your team every single day. Every single day, you need at least a 10, 15-minute check-in. What's going on? Where do you need help? How can I help? Are you having trouble closing? Whatever it is, looking at their metrics so that you stay fresh on that. This is one of those areas where it doesn't make any sense to do it once a month. You want to do this 20 plus times a month. Every single business day, you need to be checking in with your team, seeing where they're at. You don't have to spend an hour with them. Spend 15 minutes. But get in there and actually talk to your team. That's one of the things you need to do. The next thing is internal readiness. These are things like looking at your org chart, making sure there's role clarity, make sure positions are very clearly defined, make sure who owns certain opportunities and what the BD and delivery chain look like in your business. You need to be doing this on a regular basis because your business should be evolving and growing. If it's not evolving and growing, that's a bigger problem. Reach out to me and I'll help you with that. Another thing on here is training and SOPs. I've talked about documentation and processes and things like that. But now I want you to also think about training. So how are you actually training all of the people in your company? Not just on how to do their job, how to do sales, how to work with a government contractor, but how to fit in the culture. How are they a fit for your company? How do they work with each other? Doing team bonding, team building. There's all these little things that you can be doing to grow the team, maintain the team, and streamline what they do. The last one here on internal readiness is a tech stack audit. Being able to go through your tools and see what's still working and what's not. If your CRM isn't helping you, maybe you need to switch it. If your proposal tools are not working, maybe you need to switch it. If you've stopped using some tools because you bought a new tool, you need to cancel subscriptions. So doing a tech stack audit is something you should be doing regularly. Probably about once a quarter is a good amount of time to do that one. So last but not least, just understand that success is found in the boring stuff. It's the boring, mundane stuff. Discipline beats hustle every day of the week, because you can hustle a little bit, but discipline is more like running the marathon. You're continually doing things. Show up for the unsexy tasks and you will outlast the competition. The boring stuff, even though it's boring, by doing it consistently is what will help you win contracts. That is the bottom line. If you have any questions about this, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out. You can book a call with me to kind of go through any of these or anything else government contracting related. You can reach out to me and follow me on LinkedIn. You can also subscribe to our newsletter via LinkedIn. And until then, I will see you next time.